Hi students, in this video I'm going to continue talking about simplifying radical expressions, but now we're going to use cube roots. So similar to the previous one, we have radical signs, but now you have an index number of a 3. That means that you're going to take out groups of 3s, not pairs. So the perfect cubes here are the numbers 1, 8, 27, 64, 125, 216, 343, 512, 729, and 1000. So they're the first 10 perfect cubes. So the difference between squares and cubes is that this is to the third power. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. And so on. So when you have perfect cube roots, you are able to get whole numbers as answers. So you can also type this in the calculator. Just have the cube root. You can either do the control instead of square root, you're going to do the button next to it, the one that has like a little space in the front. That's where you put the index of 3, and then you put that 8, the radicand. So cube root of 8 will equal 2. The work behind that is that if you break down 8 into its primes, 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. And you can also find that out by going menu, number, and factor, typing the factor of 8, and that's 2 to the third power. So 2 times 2 times 2. That gives you the group of 3's that you need to take out. So you put a 2 on the outside of the radical, and then there's nothing left on the inside, so 2 is your answer. For the other ones, you have a coefficient in the front. That coefficient in the front means that you're multiplying times whatever the answer for that is. So 343 is a perfect cube. It's found whenever you calculate 7 times 7 times 7. Or you could have just also checked in the calculator for the cube root of 343. And then you get the answer to be 7. So that means you have 7 times 7 times 7 in the inside of the radical, and then you take out that group of 3 7s out, and that puts a 7 on the outside. So there's nothing else on the inside, and you end up with just 5 times 7, 35. The next one has a negative on the radicand. So that negative on the inside, if you do it this way with the menu, number, factor, and then you type negative 27, you get this part, negative 1, separate from 3 to the third power. So I wrote it there, but I also want you to understand that because you're doing cube roots, negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1 is the cube root that you will use whenever you have a negative 1 as a factor. So negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. But if you multiply times another negative 1, that is negative 1. So negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1 is equal to negative 1. So just know that whenever you have a factor of negative 1 and you're doing cube roots, that could be broken down into 3 negative 1s multiplying each other. All right, so when you take that out and you take that out, you end up with negative 1 times 3 on the outside, and then there's nothing else left on the inside of the radical, so it disappears. And negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. Now what this means is that if you're doing the cube root of negative 27, if you type that directly, you are going to get negative 3, which means that negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, forgot a negative there, will equal the negative 27. So just know that if you have a negative in there and it's a perfect cube, the answer is the number that you get, but with the negative. All right, the next one is similar. You have a 2 in the front as a coefficient, and then you're doing the cube root of negative 1,000. If you break down negative 1,000 to the factors, you get negative 1 times 10 times 10 times 10. Remember, negative 1 in a cube root is negative 1 times itself 3 times. So you take those out, and you get negative 1 times 10, but you still have that 2 in the front. So 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 times 10 is negative 20. All right, so now let's do some examples without the perfect cube. If I type cube root of 40, then we get a decimal. So that's where you are learning the skill of reducing or simplifying this notation of square root of cube root of 40 into another simplified radical. We're still going to do the factors of 40. So menu and number factor, and the factors of 40 are going to be 2 to the third power times 5. So I'm going to rewrite this cube root 2 to the third power times 5. And the third power means that you have 3 2's, and those are the 3 that we're going to circle and take out because we're doing cube roots. So you end up with 2 on the outside as a coefficient, and then the cube root of the number that's left behind, so that's 5. There's nothing else to multiply back together, so this is your answer. And just to check if you did it right, you write the cube root of 40, and then you write the answer that you got. And then they should be the same decimal. So here's the example for that. Okay, I'm going to go over 21 and 23. So the 2 is the coefficient in the front, and then you have the cube root of 432. So I'm going to break down into its factors. 432, and that is 2 to the 4th power and 3 to the 3rd power. So 2 to the 4th power and 3 to the 3rd power. That means we're going to take out groups of 3, so there's the group right there, comes out. And then there's a group of 3 right there, comes out. So on the inside, we still have this 2 right here, so we're going to have cube root of 2. And then on the outside, we have this 2 multiplying times those. So we're going to have 2 times 2, which is 4. 4 times 3, that's 12. And then cube root of 2. For number 23, we have an 8 as a coefficient. And we're going to multiply times whatever factors we get for negative 96. So menu, number, factor, negative 96. And we get negative 1, 2 to the 5th power, and then 3. So negative 1, 2 to the 5th power, and then 3. And then we take out cube roots, which is 3 groups of 3s. We're going to have this one, and not these. But then also remember, negative 1 is negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1. So also that one comes out. So negative 1 comes out. 2 come out, or 2 comes out, and you already have the 8 in the front, and then you have the cube root of 2 times 2 times 3. So to simplify this, we're going to do 8 times negative 1, which is negative 8, times 2, that's negative 16, and then you're going to simplify 2 times 2, which is 4, 4 times 3 is 12, and then that's the answer for that. All right, pause the video and try number 20, 22, and 24. And whenever you're ready, just check your answers. Okay, for number 20, your answer should have been 4 as a coefficient, and then cube root of 3. For number 22, your answer should have been 10. Cube root of 2. And for number 24, we should have had negative 9, cube root of 7. Okay, so check your process. If you didn't get these, catch your mistake, or come and ask me for help if you need any clarification.